So guys, let's talk about parts. Yes, we have to buy parts for our beloved Volkswagens to keep them on the road, to keep the dream alive. But what have I been saying over the past few years is that the quality of these parts has been diminishing pretty steadily. And it's getting to almost a tipping point right now, a scary point in the hobby. You know, whether it's a mechanical repair or a full-on restoration, we are going online to these part suppliers and buying parts and, crossing our fingers, hoping that everything's going to bolt up well. Well, a lot of times they don't bolt up well. And I've been in this hobby for 25 years, and there's been people in it way longer than me, and we can attest that if I bought that part and went back in time and bought a part from 25 years ago and matched it up with that part today, same part number, they're going to look and feel different. The stuff today just feels really, really cheap, but yet the price is going up. Since COVID, I've seen prices go up 50 to 100% in many areas. So, and it's one thing that a cosmetic part is subpar, but when it comes down to a mechanical part, a brake part, an electrical part, an engine part, this is safety now we have to think about. And I don't want to be going out on the road and driving, crossing my fingers, hoping that, my wheel cylinder is not going to blow, or my master cylinder is going to stop working, or something electrical is going to happen and shut the car off. Who the hell knows? I mean, I've seen it. It's some scary stuff going on right now. So this is what prompted me to do this video. I saw a series on Netflix called Rotten. I don't know if you guys have seen this series. It's a food series showing the corruption and how rotten parts of the food industry are, whether it comes to honey, olive oil, wine. They go through many different foods, even like avocados, and how they're produced, manufactured, and how they're coming into this country. Did you know we get honey from China? A lot of our honey that's on our shelves in those supermarkets in the United States is from China. And that honey, a lot of it is laced. Half the honey might be honey, the other half might be just corn syrup or some other bull crap alternative that they throw in there to cheapen the price, but the quality of that food is just absolute garbage. So that opened my eyes when I was watching it with my wife, and I said, I bet you the parts arena, whether it's in the Volkswagen arena or any other classic car arena, muscle cars, American cars, that kind of thing, they're doing the same thing to the parts. So when America was banning honey coming in from China, China then said, okay, no problem. We will reroute that honey through Europe, get it relabeled, reboxed in packages, and bring it to the United States, and they'll accept it. And sure enough, that's what we are doing. We are accepting a China product, but say it's coming from someplace in Europe, whether it's Germany, Netherlands, I don't know, something like that. And I said to myself, they're doing that with the parts too. To get, say, an OEM part, I go online and get an NOS OEM-like part. It's top quality, it says. And the box comes in, and it's German box, or at least it looks like a German box, and inside is a Taiwan part. That's the kind of stuff that we're seeing today, and so that's what I wanted to point out to you. And I'm going to condense it down for you. I'm going to focus on the main parts that are really scaring me. But it's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of good things that are happening. Sheet metal parts are getting way better. I pointed that out before. The quality of interior parts, say from SoFine or West Coast Classic Restorations, is very, very good. So if you go to Wolf Parts, Restoration Panels, BBT, their sheet metal parts are great. But it's coming down to the mechanical stuff that's really a concern to me. So I'm going to point that out to you, and I'm going to get behind the computer screen and share my screen with you. If you get value out of this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Tickle that algorithm for me so it makes me come back here and do another video for you guys. I love doing that. I love talking to you guys and getting feedback from you. If I leave anything out in this video, leave it in the comment section below if I forgot anything. And let's get to it. Okay, so here are the two sites that I primarily get most of my parts from, and that is CIP1.com and Wolfsburg West. I've probably been getting parts from them for over 20 years. And, they do sell some good stuff still, of course. Wolfsburg West is probably a little more of a premium. They rarely give you an alternative. They try to just supply the best part. So you're not here thinking like, oh, should I just go with the cheaper one or whatnot? They stick with the ones that they have tried and tested. So they don't want bad flack, I don't think CIP wants bad flack either. To that, I don't know how much pull they have to say, talk to these manufacturers and say, hey, not for nothing, but we're getting a lot of complaints about the parts that you're making, and you really got to ante up here and step up the game here and start producing better quality, or we're not going to use you anymore. I don't know. I've never been behind the scenes with that. So if anybody knows how this all works, I'm just shooting from the hip here when it comes to that stuff, and how much word did they actually have to tell these manufacturers, like, hey guys, this is not working anymore. You got to start producing some better stuff. Uh, if anybody knows, a little more detail on that, I would love to hear your comments in the comment section below. But so, for example, here, let's look at the turn signal switches. Now, it's CIP1. Whenever I bought a turn signal switch from them, it's been hit or miss. A lot of these cheaper ones really do wind up failing. They just don't function correctly. Lights don't work right. And so here's an example of, say, a 66 to 67 switch. It does say excellent reproduction, and it's at a pretty affordable price, $87.03. But then they have one down here, which is in silver beige instead, this is for 6061 actually. That's a 6-wire turn signal switch. That's a unique turn signal switch. That's $198, almost $200. But then here's another one, 6667 Beetle for $79.80. And it should be black for that year, but this one is silver beige, off white. So if you did want to go that route, you could paint it black if you wanted to. And then here's another one, another 66, 67, 79.80. Two different part numbers. So this is the one issue with CIP1, is that you would have multiple options here. Now here's another one for 66, 67. Genuine German, they're saying. Turn signal switch, 211. So I would say most likely you're going to be better off with the 211 one here. I know it's more money, but trust me, the aggravation you're going to probably go through and the time that it's going to take you to get the cheaper ones to work correctly, it could drive you nuts, or you're going to be forced to buy another one. So it's always better to go with the genuine German part. Now, that being said, I've even bought so-called genuine German parts before. Not particularly like a turn signal switch, but say another part, a random part, and the box, like I stated, was German, but inside there was a sticker on the item that said made in China. So that goes then back to that show I was telling you about, Rotten, where they're relabeling things. They're relabeling the honey, they're routing it through Europe and then taking it, sending it then to the Americans. This is the kind of stuff that gets me going here and gets me thinking, like, what in the hell is going on? So if you go to Wolfsburg West, they'll have the turn signal switch here, 66, 67, and look, it's 280. And they also say made in Germany. Now, I don't know if that's the same exact one that CIP1 offers here that says genuine German for 211. It might be. So a lot of these suppliers, they all get the same parts from the same places. So again, I can't fault them as much. If all these guys are getting their stuff from the same places, that's I wish maybe they would all pull together somehow and say, hey, we got to start getting some better stuff here. But that's just one example I'm talking about. Now, Wolfsburg West will not offer all these multiple variations of this particular part. They do on some things, but most of their stuff, they'll just offer the one. That's what's good about Wolfsburg West, at least. So I do like that with them. So let's move on here. Now let's get to the brake stuff. This is the real scary stuff that I've been talking about. And here's a wheel cylinder. Okay, so for a Beetle 58 to 77, a front wheel cylinder, it's only $13. I've seen them as low on this site for some models, like $10. And these are really no-name brands. Like I could not tell you what brand this is. This is probably just a no-name brand wheel cylinder. I know they have a rating system here, but I really don't know how accurate that is. If you do go to Wolfsburg West and you click on the wheel cylinder here in their braking area, they will offer a Brazilian or German or EU part.
So they will give you two versions, but their Brazilian part is $31 compared to the other one, which we just saw, which was $13. Okay, so, and again, this is the Brazilian part, and then the German part, I think, is just a little bit more money, 47.59. You're probably better off going with the quote unquote German part, the Ate brand or FTE brand, or there was Varga. The Brazilian was the Varga. So I've had decent success with the Vargas, but some of these knockoff brands here, these no-name brands, guys, you really got to be careful. I mean, these are failing. I mean, we don't really buy these, but I'll be honest. I mean, we've bought in the Brazilians before, and they have failed too. So this is just getting a little scary when it comes to the safety parts here that we're talking about. And the same goes with the the master cylinders. So we have a master cylinder here for 23.65. Usually that's been hovering around that price for a long time now. But then, you got something here that's 93.07. It says excellent European brand for Beetle 67 to 77 as the dual master cylinder. And then you even have one here, say for a Super Beetle, same thing, 93.07, excellent European brand. And then if you scroll down here, here's another Super Beetle brand for only $30. So again, I would go and spend the extra money just for your safety's sake and go with this brand instead. Just because most likely this brand is definitely China. This brand, they say European brand, but it still could be China. But you've got a better bet here. I have no control of actually how these are made. We try to get the best parts, but I've had products like these, they failed as well. Another big concern that I have, again, this is another safety issue. We're running into an issue today with steering boxes. I bought both of these, and I think they both, I hate to say it, they both suck. They used to be the TRW brand of steering boxes, and I don't know if they're available anymore. I bought the steering boxes as well from Wolfsburg West. Same deal, I've had to return them. A lot of times we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, so if I have some old German steering boxes taken off of old Beetles, we sometimes will swap the parts and kind of just interchange certain things. I deal with the guy in Connecticut, Bug City, Dave, and sometimes I call him up and he has some old German, good used German boxes that I will buy from him. If it's a good used box, that usually performs better than a brand new aftermarket piece of garbage that's been on the market here. So we're in a little bit of a pickle right now with steering boxes. I get people calling me all the time saying, where am I getting a steering box from? And I can't tell you. I don't know. As of right now, I've been sourcing good used ones either on the Samba or from my guy Dave in Connecticut, Bug City. So next part's in relation to the steering box, just up above it is the steering couplers. And I've had issues with some of these couplers just literally tearing apart. I buy the one here. I bought some of these expensive ones before. The C&C UK, these are normally good. I haven't really had much issue with those, but I've ordered some other ones that say from Germany, right? Just like this one, steering box coupler, and this bad boy shattered. I had a client that called me up one day, was just about to go for a drive, and the steering wheel popped off and almost smacked her in the face. And she then got out of the car, was so scared. Thankfully, she was just in her driveway. And when the car was shipped to us, we saw that the steering coupler completely broke. I mean, broke apart to the point where it just cracked and shattered. I mean, brand new, genuine German from Germany, and that steering coupler broke. So now, again, I don't. Some of these parts, who knows how old they are? Maybe it's tough to gauge it. On how maybe it's dry. Maybe it was dry rotted internally. It wasn't doing well. But from the surface, everything looked it was brand new. So another concern I have, again, it's It's one thing if it's a cosmetic part, but when it comes to a safety part like this, steering, mechanical stuff, this is where we're running into some sketchy waters, man. Now, when it comes to interior parts, we have here, say, here's your basic TMI stuff that's out there. Your vinyl headliners, which is the most commonly bought headliner that's on the market, still fairly inexpensive. I mean, this really hasn't gone up in price all that much, but this material, this is the black vinyl, but even if you get the white perforated vinyl, when you get these headliners in, they're literally stuffed in a rectangular box. Not very well. I mean, almost like they're shoved in there. And it's always ideal to let that sit out in the sun for a while. If it's a hot day, maybe lay it out on the driveway or something, put a cloth down, lay it down on the driveway, let that sun beat on that to get rid of those wrinkles and soften that material up. As if you do feel the new vinyl today, it just feels like plastic. And I don't know how long it's been like this quality. I do remember doing my first headliner in my 68 Beetle I did back in the early 2000s, and I don't remember the quality being that cheap. So it's definitely declined. It's got a very hard plasticky feel to it. So if you are going to get a vinyl headliner, I would recommend going with either Sofine. She's got great quality material here, Sofine. I love her stuff. And then you also have West Coast Classic Restorations. So you can get it from these guys as well. So something to think about when it comes to the interior stuff. If you go through Wolfsburg West, they're primarily going to have TMI stuff as well. They do have some of the early stuff. I do think they outsource that. I think they get them from West Coast Classic Restorations. The 55 and earlier style seats or 50 seats, they go through West Coast Classic. They supply them. But when you get up into the 60s, this is all TMI stuff. But they don't give you so many options. They don't do the custom options for Wolfsburg West. Um, they're gonna stick with the stock color combos that would have been true to the vehicles. But just keep in mind it is still TMI and it's okay quality. If you're on a budget, it's totally fine. But just understand it that the feeling of it is not going to be as nice as West Coast Classic or Sofine Interior. So these are the areas where we are still really, you can get really great materials that's still on the market today. So thankfully, when it comes to the cosmetics and interiors, you can get great stuff. Still, Wolfsburg West will have the German square weave carpet, which is way better than the TMI loop. So I would definitely recommend, going with them. They offer at least that, Wolfsburg West. So here's one particular part that if I got this from SIP1, these are door wedges for 55 and earlier Beetle, and then they had it from 52 to 64 microbus. These are rubber wedges that would screw into the side part of the door, and it just keeps the door in alignment, so to speak, when you shut it. From Wolfsburg West, when I got those, they were absolutely hard plastic. I mean, hard plastic would not even budge, like if you squeezed them. CIP1 sold them, and they were very rubbery. They had a soft, pliable, feel to them. The only problem with the Wolfsburg West, I'm sorry, the CIP1, is that they were way too thick. So I had to shave them down in order for them to fit into the wedge section on the B pillar on the Beetle. Wolfsburg West, they did fit, but again, it was just such a hard plastic that it wind up, wearing away the paint and actually damaging the paint on your B pillar. So these are the examples that we're running into when it comes to aftermarket stuff. There's a lot of finagling and a lot of modification that we have to do on many parts that are offered. This is just one example. But then when it comes to sheet metal is great now. The offerings that they have now are great, but you see, look at the pricing; they are up there now. So I mean, look, the fact that you can get a 46 to 52 front fender, like I don't know. What I always say is, those cars are so rare to get right now. What is the demand for these products? I guess apparently there is some demand. If they wouldn't be offering them if there was not demand. But I have gotten these fenders before for my 54 convertible, and they are absolutely excellent. So yeah, you will spend $1,500 or so for two front fenders. Now I think at the time when I bought mine, I spent they were $500 a piece. I think I spent $1,000 for the two front fenders. So that kind of stuff is now there. CIP1 is offering this stuff now, which is good. So both of these guys are offering, some better products now. So there has to be some form of awareness with this all, but I still think the mechanical stuff is probably way more important. For that matter, it's about safety. It's about driving and being safe. Then you also have, restorationpanels.com. This guy's out of Finland. This guy's Mika. He's a great guy, and he's got some really rare, obscure sheet metal parts that you can pick up for early Beetle. Again, I'm amazed that the demand is there for something like this, but this is somebody that's doing quality stuff out there. So something to keep an eye on. So I just hope this translates more now into the mechanical side of things. And then you also have Wolf Parts. This guy's out of Sweden. Also, again, very rare parts. I mean, these are front quarter panels. I did a video on this once before on the front quarter panels for a Beetle. I mean, 51 to 52 front quarter panels with the crotch coolers. I mean, is that really in so much demand to make these? It's truly remarkable that they are making them. And I bought these before for early Beetles. We did a 58 Beetle a few years ago for a client, and those front panels are excellent. And you also have Classic Fab, Gerson here, the green stuff. We get he probably has the better heat channels, and he's the guy that has the correct floor pans for a 55 and earlier bug. So if you did want to go with the correct style pans, I have a video on that as well on what looks different from a 55 and earlier. And he's really the only one that offers that pan. And then, of course, Wolfsburg West, they still keep putting out quality stuff. They are now making the 25 to 36 horsepower camshaft, which is excellent. I used to have to source these, a good used one or a good NOS one, if I could find one. Now Wolfsburg West is supplying these. If you sign up for Wolfsburg West's newsletter, Wolfsburg Wired, good stuff they put out every now and then. It doesn't come out as often, not really like a monthly thing, but every now and then they do put out a real good quality part. So there's good and bad with what's going on today. So just wanted to point all this stuff out, guys. Just keep your eyes open. Just be aware that some of these parts are really inferior and they've gone down a lot. The wheel cylinders and master cylinders, they're making them out of cast now. So that's primarily why they're failing, because we're not driving these cars as often. And when that car sits for a while and it's not being exercised through the braking system, those things are rusting. And that's primarily why these wheel cylinders and masters are failing. So this is what's happening. It's cheaper material being made, being used to put these things together. And it's a shame because we don't want to have this fear when we go out on the road, right? We want to be able to enjoy ourselves and enjoy some nostalgia, some history here, and not have to worry about getting into an accident, God forbid. So hope you guys like this video. If you found value in it, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next week. Take care.